Well, a good Friday morning. Thank you for tuning in to the Gardener's Corner program, a Friday feature here on TV Channel 10 and WKRX 96.7 FM. Those of you that are watching on TV, no need to adjust your TV screen. I was running behind and I did not have time to go in for makeup before going on the show as our co-host of the program. And I would like to, at this time, please make welcome all the way from the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, Mr. Carl, the silver-haired fox himself, Cantalupe. And a good morning, Carl.
Good morning, Rob.
How you doing, my friend?
All right, real good, real good.
Yeah, I just walked in the building, literally, and so I was a little bit delayed in my arrival. A lot of traffic out this morning on the boulevard. And,
yeah, there is.
Maybe Friday, maybe folks, maybe getting ready, making plans, going out of town for the weekend. Maybe a lot of people are off of work today, but it was a lot of traffic this morning. It sure was. But anyway, the Gardener's Corner program today is brought to you by T.G. Brooks Company. They've been in business since 1936, a landmark in Timberlake. We'll be telling you a little bit about T.G. Brooks Company coming up in a few minutes. But here it is, the end of the month. And, you know, this month has flown by. And was watching the weather report several days ago. And I know it doesn't seem this way, but from what the weather reporter was talking about was typically July is the hottest month that we have in this area. Even though it is some hot days in the month of August, but typically July is the hottest month. And I've also heard some other reports about it's been more humid weather this summer than we have had in a great number of years.
In 20 years, I heard that, yeah.
And so if August brings less humidity and cooler temperatures, I welcome it with open arms.
That's right, that's right.
But as we roll along towards, you know, September, you know, things will start to cool off even more so. And I'll make this prediction, myself included, it will be a lot of us this wintertime saying, I'll be glad when warm weather gets here.
That's right.
But anyway,
I think, do we need to give the number out?
Yes,
Okay.
we are live in the studio. So if you've got a question for our resident expert, Mr. Carl Cantalupe, call 336-599-0266. That's 599-0266. Going to be talking about a lot of different topics. But before we get to talking about some of the things that you may be having going on in your lawn, landscape, and garden, next Thursday night is going to be the Asparagus Twilight Meeting. That will be August 6th. Carl, if you would, tell us more information about that.
Yeah, the Asparagus Twilight Meeting will showcase the replicated asparagus variety trial that I have out at 980 Flem Clayton Road, just north of Roxborough. And we go over everything from A to Z. We start out by talking about how to plant asparagus. We'll open up a trench. We'll have dormant crowns or roots to show how to plant. And then we'll go and talk about the different varieties, how they've yielded over the years. And then also people will be able to observe the rhubarb planting date study that I have. And that is, we're looking at different planting dates in July and August to see which ones which one or ones are the best for rhubarb. We're starting them out as 10-week-old transplants and putting them out at that time. We're letting them overwinter, and then we harvest the plant the following spring until the plant starts to die. Normally, rhubarb is not grown as a perennial crop in the South because it can't take the heat. So we're trying a different approach, and that is by growing them as an annual plant, setting out 10-week-old transplants in July, August, and September to see which transplanting date corresponds to the highest yield during the following year.
So again, the Asparagus Twilight Meeting, Thursday night, August 6th. That address again?
980 Flem Clayton Road. Going on 57 north out of Roxborough, go for about 2 miles, and then turn right on Flem Clayton Road. It's a dead-end road. Go about 4/10 of a mile. You'll see the asparagus plot on the right.
Okay. And if you'd like more information on that, you can call the Person County Office of the Cooperative Extension Service, 336-599-1195.
Right.
Carl, the next question that I would like to get your response on, blackberry plants or bushes or vines, however you want to refer to them as, they have pretty much stopped bearing. Mm-hmm. Ours at home still has some red berries on them.
Okay.
But it seems that they are ripening very, very slow. Is it a good time to go ahead and trim them back now, or should we wait a while?
Well, the canes that have finished producing, the canes where the fruit came off of, those canes will never fruit again, so you can take those down at ground level right now. And then the other new canes that are coming up that are not producing fruit, those, when they reach about 4 to 5 feet tall, you want to pinch the tops out. And this will encourage side branching, and that's where the crop will be next year. Then next year around February or early March, you can shorten those laterals back. So you only really need about 1.5 feet on each side of the plant, on the top wire, and then also if you're training to a bottom wire as well.
Okay. Well, Carl, now this may sound like a crazy question. When you start trimming the blackberry plants back,
mm-hmm.
Is it an easy way to distinguish the more or less shoots that have just finished bearing the berries?
Oh, yeah.
Versus the new ones?
Yeah, because the old ones that have finished bearing, they're already going to start to turn brown.
Okay.
They're going to look like they're dying.
Okay.
And so the best thing to do is to prune those right at ground level.
So you can go ahead and do that whenever you have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But you certainly want to do it before next year, correct?
Yeah, the earlier you do it, the better it is, because you'll take out any overwintering diseases that might be on that dead wood. And now the new shoots that come up, that's a project that you have to continually do throughout the summer, because the plant is going to send up, new shoots all summer long. So as they get to be about 4 to 5 feet tall, then you pinch the tops of those out.
Okay. All right. Appreciate you explaining that. And I don't mind telling you, when we trim ours back at home, that is sometimes a little bit confusing,
mm-hmm.
Because one year I got really wild with the pruning shears and trimmed everything back, and you know what? We didn't have any blackberries
mm-hmm.
the following year,
yeah.
so I got a little bit, what you would say, clipper happy. more or less. Well, moving right along again, we are live in the studio today, 599-0266, and we're hoping that everybody's doing good on this Friday. And it's the last Friday of this month. Matter of fact, this last day of July. Some other things, we'll make mention of this, as we had talked about in the show the last couple of weeks, that it's going to be September before you know it.
Yep.
And mid-September is the time to start fertilizing cool season grasses. If you have not done your soil samples as of yet, please go ahead and do so. And also, you need to be deciding whether you need to overseed or do a lawn renovation project. If you decide to do a lawn renovation project, of course, this will take more time than overseeding, but Carl has a good way to advise people on doing the lawn renovation projects, how to kind of be successful at it.
Right. If more than 50% of your lawn is in weeds, that's a good candidate for a complete renovation. If less than 50% of your lawns are weeds, you might want to spot seed, those areas. And it takes a lot less time and work if you want to do it that way.
Yeah. That's some good advice, and really and truly, if you want to do a lawn renovation, need to spray Roundup, allow it a couple of weeks for it to die. Hopefully you will have the results of your soil sample analysis. Go ahead and put your fertilizer and lime down, till it up into the soil, and then you'll be ready to plant, and hopefully you'll have a really nice lush lawn come springtime of next year.
Right.
Carl, you were saying something about with the rain and the heat that this is really brought in the
Septoria leaf spot on tomato, and we have a picture of that right here. This was taken actually last week, and you can see how the fungus has moved in and just literally has melted the vines. So, once this happens, you can see a lot of fruits exposed to the sunlight. And what happens then is they get sun scalded. So I took a picture of some fruits from that plant, and you can tell that sun scald has occurred there because you have a white discoloration, and in the center of the lesions, there the fruit is cracking. So it's an ideal way for the insects and diseases to get in there by sun scald. So make sure you have good leaf cover on the plant. Other things that are occurring with tomatoes right now, verticillium wilt will gradually wilt and kill the entire plant by resistant varieties, so that you don't have a problem with this one. This just shows what it looks like if you slit the stem lengthwise. You can see the verticillium wilt causes this brownish discoloration. Fusarium wilt is kind of the same. Is kind of similar. The only difference is that you can see the fungus more on the inside of the cut stem. It's not just confined to the outside of it. And a lot of times with Fusarium, one half of the plant will wilt, and the other half will still be okay. So largely Fusarium and verticillium wilts are. I'm trying to look at the word. Plants are resistant to them. Some plants have a resistance to these two fungus diseases, and so that's your best thing. That's your best way to avoid these diseases, is to plant resistant varieties.
Okay. In just a minute, we're going to get a word on for our sponsor, T.G. Brooks Company. Just before we do that, I was actually down Depot Street earlier today by the Roxborough Farmers Market. I had wanted to stop by, but just time ran short and was unable to do so. But I think they had about 7 or 8 vendors set up there at the Roxborough Farmers Market, which is open weekdays and Saturday mornings from about 7 until 12 noon. I'm sure they've got a huge selection of different, vegetables available. And speaking of farmers markets, the Person County Farmers Market will be open on Saturday, 8 a.m. until 12 noon, and then Wednesday afternoon from 3 until 6 p.m. And after we get a word on for T.G. Brooks Company, we'll find out about what's expected to be at the market tomorrow.
This month of July, two things are important to a lot of us here in Person County. Number one is getting those delicious vegetables and pickles put up for the winter, whether you grew them or bought them at one of the two farmers markets. T.G. Brooks Company has all your canning jars in half pints, quarts, half gallons, and they have the pressure cookers, bath canners, strainers, funnels, in fact, all of your canning supplies. They offer the stone jars for pickling, too. The second thing is keeping everything green, and T.G. Brooks Company can handle all kinds of watering needs. First of all, they have sprinklers, water hose, sprayers, and water hose parts. They have irrigating equipment. T.G. Brooks Company has your piping for irrigating. They have gas-powered pumps. Keep everything green and keep that vegetable harvest coming in strong. Also, it's time to beautify your property while you're out of doors. They offer so many kinds of mulch in bulk form or bagged. You can get your mulch by the large scoop. They have delivery service available too. Bring your truck, trailer, and they'll load it up for you. When it comes to yard tools to do the work, they have your hose, diggers, choppers, and yard tools, everything you need to beautify. By the way, T.G. Brooks reminds everyone that they have dog fences and dog food by the bag. Be sure to enjoy the day with your family by ending the day and a delicious hand-cut ribeye steak sold and cut to your width and cook it up on the grill. T.G. Brooks Company has served the farmer, homeowner, and landscaper in the area since 1936.
Here we are back on the Gardeners Corner program with Carl Cantalupi of the Cooperative Extension Service. Carl, would you like that fan on? Would that help?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Anyway, it's a little bit warm here at the station, but it's a little bit warm everywhere. And Carl,
That's okay.
says he's been working out in the sun the last couple of days.
That's probably why the
The sun can really take the energy out of you. Kilby, that's okay. Don't
That's
worry
all right.
about it.
Yeah, we're fine.
But anyway, yes, working out in the sun with the humidity and everything, it can really take the energy out of you, and it will sometimes take a couple of days to, regain.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah.
So, but anyway, we're going to do our best, Carl, to try to keep you from assuming room temperature.
Okay.
Yes, we was going to get you to give us a little update on the Person County Farmers Market.
Yeah, I got some information here. Person County Farmers Market welcomes back the stars from Brooklyn Eats. Chefs Gabe and Coleman will be doing a cooking demonstration at 10 o'clock Saturday, August the 1st. Chef Gabe will be leading the charge, cooking a spicy gumbo loaded with our local vegetables and farm-fresh meat, accompanied by a refreshing watermelon and cucumber salad. Come for the cooking tips and stay for the tasting. Of course, the market is open on Saturday from 8 a.m. until noon. Other items available on at the market will include melons, okra, green beans, blueberries, cucumbers, many different types of tomatoes, chicken and duck eggs, squash, okra, eggplant, beans, cucumbers, kale and carrots, and then the bakery vendor at the market has all different kinds of breads and cakes and cupcakes and muffins and bread, biscotti, all different things, all good things for the palate.
It sounds like it. It sure does. Again, that's at the Person County Farmers Market that's open on Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. until noon, and then on Wednesday afternoons from 3 until 6. But Carl, a question, and it seems like I have been noticing a lot of bagworms. Is it just that time of the year that we are beginning to see them?
Yeah, unfortunately, they're very large now, and people are calling in and talking about them affecting their evergreens, especially ones that are really tall, and they're covering them from top to bottom. The bad thing is when they get to be this stage, you can see on your TV screen, is that there really is nothing you can do. The bag has been made, and the larvae is encased inside the bag, so they're impervious to insecticides. This slide shows a full-grown bagworm in the protective bag, and what happens now and later on, the male bagworm moth emerges from the pupal stage, and then it flies off to mate with other females. The female stays in the bag; she never leaves. So once the male mates with her, she starts laying eggs, and each bag can contain up to 500 eggs.
Wow!
So this is what a young bagworm larva looks like floating on a strand of silk, before it attaches itself to a plant. And this is the time, or actually slightly before this time, you need to initiate controls. 7, malathion, BT, whatever you have. Before this is a larvae. You see it's just starting to make its bag from the needles on the tree, and they're very susceptible to insecticides once as they are doing this when you still have some exposed larvae. The problem is that they're very difficult to see in the spring, but you have to force yourself to go out and start looking late May and into June. And once you start to see the newly hatched larvae, and a lot of times they'll camouflage themselves against the tree, so you have to look real close. That's the only way you're going to control them. And now when you have the bags on the trees and they start to feed, they have a really big appetite, and they can actually cut some nice size holes into trees and shrubs. It won't kill them, but it'll really make them look ugly. So unfortunately at this point in time, the only thing you have at your disposal is hand picking, and if the trees are tall, I mean, that's be very difficult to do this, to say the least. Yeah. But
I had someone asking me earlier this week that they had some Leland cypress trees that looked as if they were dying, and they had noticed like some bagworms on them and things. And they were thinking that maybe the bagworms were killing the tree. And I told them, I said, I'm not an expert by a long shot. I said, but I don't think that the bagworms are doing a tremendous amount of harm to the tree. I said, I have been told that these Leland cypress trees grow so fastly and they get so big that once they get as big as they're going to get, they require an awful large amount of water and fertilizer.
Exactly right.
And a lot of times the tree, in a sense, will be more or less, for the lack of a better word, starving itself to death. And I have heard that some trees can use up to 300 gallons of water per day. Now, I know that's maybe kind of hard to conceive to a certain amount, but as Carl has said many, many times on the show, all kind of plants, and even us people, the biggest part of it is water.
That's right.
And I have seen something on the news in the past talking about the drought in California, where it's a lot of almond growers out there, and they say that one almond can take up to 3 gallons per water. So when you look at the size of one almond taking 3 gallons of water for it to produce.
Mm-hmm.
And then you look at a big tree,
Yeah.
you know, it's getting a lot of moisture from somewhere to survive.
Absolutely, yeah.
And when you put it into those terms, it's pretty easy to believe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But again, you know, it's all kind of little things that can happen, you know, in your lawn, in your landscaping, in the garden. And as Carl has kind of taught me to pass the message along, you need to be pretty diligent when you're out, you know, in the yard or in the garden. You need to be looking around for different signs, different things. And in most cases, a lot of times when you see something, you can do something preventative. But in so many cases, more so than not, when you start to see the signs, sometimes it's a little too late to do anything at all.
That's right. That's right.
Now, Carl, I know like one particular thing you have talked about, you know, when you're spraying, you know, your fruit and vegetables, you know, with fungicides, that it's one of those things, if you wait until you start seeing the problem, you're kind of behind the 8 ball.
Exactly.
But if you start off a spray regimen, you can stay ahead. And speaking of the asparagus twilight meeting that's going to be held next Thursday night, August the 6th, that is one thing Carl is going to be talking about that has shown really good results about spraying the asparagus with a fungicide on a regular schedule has increased the yield of the asparagus.
Right, and if you do that, it definitely does preserve the fern. It prevents it from getting brown, and it also increases your yields the following year. So we'll definitely have data to show that. And another disease that's been kind of running rampant now is septoria leaf spot, and you can see in this slide, this was actually taken a week ago. You see the fungus moves in, and then it just melts out the entire vine, and then what you have here are sun-scalded fruits due to the lack of the leaf cover.
So, you know, do yourself a favor, and maybe if you have experienced some problems this year, next year, maybe go ahead and put some plans in to try to avoid these things from happening again, you know, next year.
Right.
But we are live in the studio today, 336-599-0266. That's 599-0266. Carl, something want to ask about. You're going to be speaking up in Winston-Salem in the near future, correct?
Yes, that's right. Mm-hmm.
You're going to be speaking at the Paw Paw Festival?
Mm-hmm.
What is the dates of that? Do you know off the top of your head?
Yeah, let's see if I know what I did here with the buttons here. There.
Okay.
Paw Paw Festival is the last Saturday in August, whatever that date
I
is.
think that'll be the 29th.
Okay. Last Saturday in August, the 29th, from 10 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon at the Forsyth County Extension Office. It's kind of a Paw Paw open house. They have booths set up. They have different things made out of pawpaws. You can sample fresh pawpaw if you like, and all kinds of information and publications to take back with you. And we have at least 1 or 2 pawpaw growers that generally bring up pawpaw trees to sell, and they also bring up frozen pulp, the pulp from the fruit. And you can buy those and bring those home, and yours truly will be there talking about pawpaws, and that's later on in the day. I think probably right around 12 noon or so. There'll be myself and some other people that are going to be talking about growing pawpaws, what to do, and will also make up a panel discussion as well.
Well, now, Carl, was it you saying last year that the pawpaws can bring about $5 per pound?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Wow, that's pricey.
Mm-hmm.
It sure is. We are brought to you today by T.G. Brooks Company, and we'll be sharing a word with you from T.G. Brooks Company coming up in just a little bit. They've been in business since 1936, and if you hadn't stopped in by T.G. Brooks Company, you need to just take a few minutes one day when you have a little bit of time, just stop in and check out some of the things that they have, and nice, friendly people there to greet you at T.G. Brooks Company in Timberlake.
This month of July, two things are important to a lot of us here in Person County. Number one is getting those delicious vegetables and pickles put up for the winter, whether you grew them or bought them at one of the two farmers markets. T.G. Brooks Company has all your canning jars in half pints, quarts, half gallons, and they have the pressure cookers, bath canners, strainers, funnels, in fact, all of your canning supplies. They offer the stone jars for pickling, too. The second thing is keeping everything green, and T.G. Brooks Company can handle all kinds of watering needs. First of all, they have sprinklers, water hose, sprayers, and water hose parts. They have irrigating equipment. T.G. Brooks Company has your piping for irrigating. They have gas-powered pumps. Keep everything green and keep that vegetable harvest coming in strong. Also, it's time to beautify your property while you're out of doors. They offer so many kinds of mulch in bulk form or bagged. You can get your mulch by the large scoop. They have delivery service available too. Bring your truck, trailer, and they'll load it up for you. When it comes to yard tools to do the work, they have your hose, diggers, choppers, and yard tools, everything you need to beautify. By the way, T.G. Brooks reminds everyone that they have dog fences and dog food by the bag. Be sure to enjoy the day with your family by ending the day and a delicious hand-cut ribeye steak sold and cut to your width and cook it up on the grill. T.G. Brooks Company has served the farmer, homeowner, and landscaper in the area since 1936.
Here we are back on the Gardener's Corner program. My name is Rob Hall, Mr. Carl Cantalupi of the North Carolina Cooperative Extension Service, our resident expert. We always have a little laugh or two when we're taking a break. And, you know, as many times as we've been here doing the show, it's kind of always something new arises, you know, from time to time.
That's right.
It kind of makes us scratch our head and try to figure out what's going on. But anyway, nevertheless, we was sitting here talking, and we was hearing like a little bit of reverb or something, but we was actually hearing our own selves on a different monitor. So that was kind of good for a little chuckle. Carl, with tomorrow being August 1st,
Right.
is it still an opportunity, and is the window still open to plant warm season vegetables?
Yeah, August really is the main planting month if you want to start a fall garden, and a lot of vegetables can still be planted. I mean, if you still have if you can still find tomato transplants around, you can definitely plant those, and you're looking at roughly 70 days or so, you know, until you produce a fruit.
So if you plant them early August, you're looking mid October.
Yeah, and you know, depending on how the season is, if it's going to, if we get cold weather quick, of course that'll cut into it. But there's still plenty of time to get second plantings of summer squash, you know, zucchinis, yellow straight neck, patty pan squash, beans, cucumbers. If you might try an early variety of sweet corn. And then, of course, pretty soon now, be looking for transplants of cabbage, cauliflower, and broccoli. And you can set those out in the garden, and they'll have plenty of time to mature. Turnips, Mustard and turnips for greens, I would say wait till late August, early September if you're going to start those from seed.
Okay. Carl, you had said sometimes back, and I cannot remember, but if you eat a cucumber and it tastes bitter,
Right.
what does that come from?
Comes from a flavor compound that's present in the cucumber. Actually, that's what the striped and the spotted cucumber beetles smell in the early spring, and that's what attracts them to cucumbers in the first place, is that odor of cucurbitacin, and that's concentrated just underneath the peel and close to the stem end of the cucumber. And hot weather can bring this on quite a bit. A lot of the older varieties, like straight 8, are more prone to this being bitter. So I guess a word to the wise is, if you're going to be using cucumbers to make pickles, go ahead and sample the cucumbers before you make the pickles. You don't want to have a batch of bitter cucumbers.
Like Aunt Bee's.
Yeah. So, and then another way to, if you do find that they are bitter, you can take more of the cucumber off at the stem end, and you can extend a little bit deeper below the peel.
Carl, I'm having a little self-chuckle right here.
Oh, yeah?
Mr. Bratcher was talking this morning, and he mentioned a joke that he had seen on the internet, and he said it was good for a chuckle. And he said, you remember the TV
must
show?
Be clean.
It is. The TV show, well, Mayberry.
Andy Griffith Show.
That's right, the Andy Griffith Show. Thank you. I said Mayberry, but the Andy Griffith Show. And Mr. Bratcher said, have you ever thought about the characters on the Andy Griffith Show was not married?
Oh.
And I said, well, I never really thought about it. Andy wasn't married. Aunt Bee wasn't married. Barney wasn't married. Goober wasn't married.
Floyd.
But Mr. Bratcher said the only character on the show that was on there frequently that was married was Otis, and he drank all the time. I thought that's pretty funny. Hey, we've got a phone call.
Okay, good.
Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardeners Corner program.
Yes, sir. I got a question for Mr. Corner-Calupi. What is the difference in sweet potatoes and yams?
What is the difference between sweet potatoes and yams?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The true yam is not grown in the United States. It's a rough, warty-looking vegetable that doesn't even resemble the sweet potato. But the true yam is grown in tropical countries, and actually how the name had gotten coined in the United States. Yam comes from the African word nyami, spelled Nyami. And when blacks came over to this country, and during the time of slavery, that's what they called them, yams. And so that name has stuck, so much so that even when you go to buy canned yams in the grocery store, the word yams is on there, but yams is from the genus Dioscorea. Sweet potatoes are from the genus Ipomoea batatas. So, long story short, the what we call yams in this country are actually the varieties of moist flesh sweet potatoes, the orange types. But they're all sweet potatoes. Even though they're called yams, there are no yams grown in the U.S.
Oh, okay, great. Well, I appreciate it.
Okay.
Hey, appreciate that. That was a good question. And, we was talking about it a few weeks ago, Carl, and it's kind of, became a marketing tool.
Oh, sure.
To market sweet potatoes and
Right.
yams. And just to make a couple other references, the cantaloupe is not really a cantaloupe.
Mm-hmm.
It is a muskmelon.
That's correct. Right.
And then one other thing, pumpkin pie is not really pumpkin pie. It is actually made from the Hubbard squash. Mm-hmm. So when you go to the grocery store and you buy, the canned pumpkin, that is actually canned squash.
Right.
So I guess it comes down maybe in a sense to common names and dollar and cents to marketing, the way that some of these things,
Yeah.
have arrived to be the way that they are.
That's right. And that reminds me of a joke. I still have it hanging around somewhere. It's an old comic strip. Tater was the name of the comic strip. I don't know if you remember
I don't.
that, but it was titled "Why It's Important to Know Scientific Names," and so this Tater was born as he was a little baby, and another guy asked his mother, "Well, what's his real name?" And she said, Solanum tuberosum. That's the genus and species of the Irish potato.
Well, I think sometimes, when it comes to trying to pronounce and enunciate some names and things, we're kind of glad that, they have nicknames and other short names to make it, easier to pronounce. And
Yeah.
so,
And yesterday a guy called in, and he was, he brought in some samples of tomatoes that had Septoria leaf spot, and he said, "Well, what's the common name?" And I said, "Well, that one they never gave a common name. It still goes by Septoria."
right.
Yeah.
Speaking of tomatoes, over the last couple of weeks, we've had some really good tomatoes coming in, and my mother actually purchased some tomatoes from an individual, and she made salsa and made some juice and stuff like that. But one thing that we stress it a lot on the show, now whether people want to believe it or believe it, that's their option and their choice. But when you have tomatoes on the vine, when the tomatoes reach the maturity green stage and they start turning white just a little bit, you can go ahead and harvest those tomatoes, bring them inside and let them ripen up. Them hanging on the vine does not make them any better tasting or anything. And as Carl has said many, many times, that when you leave a tomato to ripen on the vine, you're just inviting more problems and more disease for the tomato plant. And Carl had told me about this a few years ago, and I said, well, I'm going to try it. So basically what we done, we went out to the tomato plants, and we picked 3 or 4 tomatoes that had just started to change colors. And we set a couple of them on the countertop. You don't have to set them in the windowsill in the sunlight or anything. And then we took a couple of them and put in a brown paper bag. And it doesn't have to be a brown paper bag. A white paper bag would do the same. And take one banana, and put in the bag with the tomatoes. Fold the top down on the bag and maybe take a clothespin and just kind of clamp on the top of the bag to keep it, more or less closed. Well, it's pretty interesting how much faster that tomato will ripen in the bag with the banana than the tomato setting on the countertop, even though the one on the countertop will end up getting as ripe as the ones in the bag with the banana, but the banana gives off ethylene.
That's right.
And that makes the tomato ripen faster. So the point that I'm beginning to make, you hear people talking about things and doing things, but if you give it a try yourself, it'll kind of, in a sense, make a believer out of you when you pretty much conduct your own experiment.
That's right. And a guy called in this morning. He said you know, I let my tomatoes ripen up on the vine, and I'm getting tired of harvesting, you know, tomatoes that look like this. And when a tomato gets red ripe, it's subject to fungus diseases. This is anthracnose. It's subject to insect problems. So he said, you know, what's wrong with my tomatoes? And the answer is there's nothing wrong with his tomatoes. You just need to pick them earlier so that you don't have the tomatoes that are subject to insects and diseases. So as Rob said, when you first start to notice a color change in the bottom of the fruit, pick it, and it's going to release ethylene just as well off the plant as it will on the plant. So you won't let fruits ripen on the vine to have them break down earlier. And also, by picking the fruits earlier, this gives a chance for the plant to set other tomatoes on the vine as well.
Well, you know, and all the words of advice that I pass along to you are things that Carl has, you know, kind of taught me from listening to him talk, and then, you know, trying things myself. And it's pretty interesting how sometimes are not necessarily the way that they seem and what you believe, but it is really easier when you go to the garden and you're picking tomatoes. You know, if you're just out there to pick, you know, the ones that are dead ripe, you're going to be back out there the next day picking tomatoes again. Mm-hmm. But when you go through your tomato fields, or, you know, if you've got a few plants, if you go ahead and pick all the ones that are beginning to turn and stuff like that, get them off of the plant, that will give the plant more life, trying to produce more tomatoes. And Carl has also said, and I cannot remember the term, but some varieties of tomatoes are more or less
determinate versus
that's right. Thank
okay.
you.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what that means, some of them are made to be harvested all at one time, and then some of them are, you know, more or less to where you can start harvesting and harvest tomatoes off of the same plant for several weeks. And so
that's right. Determinate type tomatoes, varieties like Celebrity, will set most of their fruit at once, and it has a smaller plant height. Determinate plants do, versus indeterminate plants. Indeterminate plants, they produce flowers, set fruit, grow vegetatively, set more flowers, produce fruit, and they'll do that right up until harvest. And indeterminate type tomatoes like Better Boy, they are a much larger plant. So those are the two different types of tomatoes. Okay. That's right.
Carl, we've got just a couple of minutes left.
All right.
Any closing remarks or anything else you want to make mention of that we haven't covered?
Be on the lookout for brown patch in your cool season lawn, such as your fescue lawn. Especially if you've over-fertilized your lawn with nitrogen this spring, you just set up favorable conditions for the lawn to contact the brown patch fungus. And you can see in this slide here, this shows brown patch moving in, and then in more advanced stages, it just kind of melts out the lawn. And unfortunately, when you see this, there's nothing you can do except to let the disease run its course. Then you're going to have to overseed again with grass in the fall. So the thing to do to avoid brown patch, do not fertilize at all in the spring. Concentrate your fertilizer applications to the fall.
All righty. Well, we hope that you enjoyed the Gardener's Corner program today, and we certainly hope that you found it an information-filled show. And I think we actually have a caller.
Oh, we do? Okay.
Let me confirm that to make sure that call is for us. It is. Okay, let's get it then. Good morning. Thank you for calling the Gardener's Corner program.
Hey, Carl. How you doing this morning?
All right. Good.
I got a really dumb question, and don't laugh, okay?
No such thing as a dumb question.
If you spray Roundup or weed killer around tomato plants, will that kill the plant, or will it also maybe, I don't know, is it safe to eat once tomatoes come? I told them I didn't know. I said, well, I know somebody that does.
Well, it depends on how strong the dose was.
Right.
You know, if you had direct application, if you spray a tomato plant with Roundup, you can kill it.
No, I'm not going to spray the tomato plant itself. I'm going to spray around where the grass is. So
Don't do it, because what happens, you'll get a yellowing of the foliage, and it'll stunt the plant.
Okay.
So yes, stay away from it, because you can really do a lot of damage to the plant itself, even with herbicide drift of Roundup.
Okay. Is it safe to put like plastic around it? Will that hurt the plant from growing or anything like that?
What you might want to do is, if you have some old blankets or sheets or something, just throw those over the plants, you know, and protect them while you're spraying, if you want to use Roundup around the garden.
No, I think I'm going to stay away from the Roundup. I'm going to probably put some plastic maybe
to try to control the grass. Is that what you're wanting to do?
What, sir?
You're wanting to control the grass around
Correct.
the tomato plants.
Correct.
And that's what he was asking. Would it be okay to put plastic down over top of the grass that's growing around the tomato plant?
Oh, sure, you can do that. And there's also the herbicide called Poast, P-O-A-S-T, which is labeled for use in around certain vegetables, and that will also control grass.
Where do you get that at?
Any garden supply store.
Lowe's would probably have it.
I would say T.G. Brooks would be a safe bet.
Oh, okay. I tell you, Timberlake.
That's right. Or, you know, any lawn and garden store. Not real sure if Lowe's would have it or not, but although they do have, you know, flowers and trees.
And you say it's called Poast, P-O-A-S-T?
That's correct. Just read the label and make sure that the vegetable that you want to spray the Poast around to control the grass, make sure that vegetable is on the label.
All right. Well, look, I appreciate it, and y'all have a great weekend.
Hey,
All
you
right,
too.
thanks
And that
for
was
calling.
a good question. Appreciate that. All righty. That's going to do it for the Gardener's Corner program today, brought to you by T.G. Brooks Company. Thanks to Mr. Carl Cantalupi of the North Carolina
Thank
Cooperative Extension Service. Thanks to our tech guy who films our smiling faces each and every week, Mr. David Kilby Bratcher Jr. On behalf of all the staff of WKRX and the Gardener's Corner program, my name is Rob Hall, wishing yours a happy and safe weekend, and we look forward to seeing you next week with another edition of the Gardener's Corner program.
Democrat Hillary Clinton used that line in her turn at the podium.
You cannot seriously talk about the right to rise and support laws